Greetings YouTube, Performance Reviews, giving you a review from the technician's point of view. And if you're not familiar with my channel, definitely go check out my back catalog. Got plenty of that. I'll put a link to something here. And if you like what you see here today, turn on that bell notification. So I have here a Hoover. No wait, it's a Royal. No wait, it's an Aerus Electrolux. Now you might think it's really weird that I'm calling it by all these names, but those who are in the know that this is actually a Hoover that was private labeled and widened for Aerus Electrolux, which is a door-to-door vacuum company. And I say Aerus Electrolux because you'll probably know them by Electrolux, but they went by Aerus for a while, and now their company is kind of in dissolve. I would just suggest you Google this company to know what's actually going on right now, because it seems to be changing rapidly. So I want to talk a little bit about this. So this company is most famous maybe for their canister vacuums. And you know, not everybody's a canister person. Not everybody is a big upright person. So this is a lightweight upright. Now this was originally designed by Hoover to be a Oreck competitor, something they could undercut Oreck with on the price, and it would perform as well or better. And it does all those things. This performs just about the same as an Oreck or a Recar Superlight. Now later, Aerus would end up private labeling Recar Superlights when this machine would go out of production. So let's take a look at some of the features that this machine has, because it's kind of innovative. I wasn't able to get a good date, but we'd say these are from the early 2000s to mid 2000s on here. Now if we look at the back, it's pretty basic. There's no onboard tools, and this is a lightweight cleaner. It's got a nice carry handle. The thing I like about this carry handle is it's not awkward. It's actually pretty natural to grab this carry handle, so I rather like that. You have a quick release orange cord, and the orange cord is kind of funny because it's not a commercial orange cord. It's not like super long or anything. It's just normal 2-prong plug. Let's plug her in. Now up on the top, you can see, or maybe you can't see, there is a 2-speed switch. And generally what that is low for area rugs and bare floors and high for wall-to-wall carpet. There is no height adjustment on this machine. So curious how it's going to do with my soft carpet, as always. The other thing this has that's pretty innovative, it has an LED headlight, which the canisters at the time didn't have, so that's something that's interesting. And they had another upright that was kind of a premier version of this machine, not this machine, but a different machine. Again, no LED headlight, so I find that kind of interesting that this was leading the way, and it was made in China. So that's kind of the interesting thing is Aerus is most known for stuff made in the US. This is not a US made product. Now I would like to find, and comment below if you have this information, because I really wasn't able to find this, what was the average price of this vacuum? I suspect it was probably between $400 and $500, but I could be wrong. I know that the commercial version of this sold for about $200 to about $130 at the time. Again, with the Hoover or the Royal label on it. So I'm curious what this sold private labeled. Now, you can get HEPA bags for this that are cloth. I do not happen to have some. So I just have the HEPA Royal bags in there. And that's right, this takes a Royal style B or Hoover style B, they're interchangeable, or an Aerus style B, because Aerus definitely had their own bag supply. So simple markings in here. This bag is available with the latex collar. This again is an earlier version of the HEPA bag. It's just what I had laying around. There's a pocket on the back for a manual, spare belts. And we'll go in the shop and we'll talk in depth about the underside of this, but it's got a wooden brush roller as well. So let's go in the shop and talk in depth. Welcome to In the Shop with the Aerus Hoover. / Royal. So I've got the motor here, and as usual, everything's always inspected before it's tested and usually cleaned if we get the vacuum used. So we have the vacuum completely apart. Something I like is that there is a 3 LED cluster for the light. The fan is not really special, but you know, you have a high number of blades and this is spinning very, very fast. So that's nice, and you can see that there's some compression there. So maybe the equivalent of an Aurec XL21, as this was most certainly meant to kill the original Aurec, and it is slightly more powerful than the original Aurec, but again, I don't think because of the brush roller design, this is more like an Aurec Classic. So I really think this is kind of a strange middle ground between the Aurec Classic and the XL21. The base on this is just ABS. We do have some nice grommets where you have to disassemble it for belt changes. And what is nice is we see metal axles for the wheels, and the wheels have the nice rubber coating on that. And when we go to the base plate, same sort of thing, the wheels have a rubber coating, so that's kind of nice. And then one other thing I like is it's marked Belt Style 18. Now nobody knows what a Belt Style 18 is. I asked a friend of mine who owns a vacuum store, do you have any 18 belts for Royal or Hoover? And he looked at me like I had 6 heads. And it's because the Style 18 belt is the same as a Aurec belt, except the 18 belt will actually have knurls similar to a Kirby, but it's about the same tension and size. Really should use a Style 18 belt if you can find them, but I never see them. Now we have, just like in Aurec, these are eccentric, except they're eccentric in their own way to only go in one way. So keep that in mind when you're putting these in. You don't put them in backwards like an Aurec. You can only put them in upright. It's interesting that they took that height adjustment out. Now this brush roller was made by CWP, who is the company who makes them for Kirby and Aurec and numerous other ones. So it's really interesting that they went with that same company to produce their brush roller. And they make very high quality brush rollers, CWP does. Just stretch that on there, walk it over to the center. Excellent. Now another interesting touch is that this pulley, when you take it off, has Loctite on it, which is a little different than your Aurec. Alright. And when there are the brass fittings, I don't like to use the drill. I find that tends to strip those brass fittings out. I like to just use a screwdriver and hand do them. Talk about bags for a second with this machine, because that's a interesting conversation. The bags for this machine, you can get Electrolux Aerus bags. That's something you can do. I don't know why you would do it though, because Royal Type B bags fit this. Now you can get these in a cloth HEPA that will fit in here, and I highly recommend getting those, and I'm going to put a link below to get those. I have, made in the US, found for $1.99 in the thrift store, Royal HEPA type. So these are similar to the Micro Magic Kirby bags. Excuse me. So I'm gonna be that guy. I'm gonna use a set of vintage bags, because if you don't use them, they go bad and the glue and stuff comes in on them. And you can see there's a nice diagram of an old school metal Royal. Now you can also get this with a Hoover logo, and the newer ones will have a rubber gasket around them. Again, this is before that. It's kind of vintage to the machine. This, you would be able to walk in the vacuum shop and get this at the time. And for as little vacuuming as we're going to do with this, this will have to do. It just goes just like that. We're going to do our usual pickup test with this machine, with one difference. There's no place for me to mount a point of view camera on this particular machine. I tried a few different things and wasn't happy with the results, so you're just going to have to see the 4K camera zoomed in on this one. So, and if you're not familiar with our usual pickup test, we have cat litter, flour, breakfast cereal, and pet hair for my dog. So let's see how this does right here. We're going to use the high setting as well. Well, you can see that nicely grooms the carpet. You can see the ingest bars left some lines on my soft carpet. Let's see if there's anything left behind. Oh, where'd it go? Well, there was a piece of cat litter. There it is. A piece of cat litter. No flour. It did snowplow the breakfast cereal, but it did eventually suck it all up. And then a little bit of pet hair and cat litter. So probably, if you have a lot of animals, not the vacuum for you. Just like work vacuums and some recars, this has a 2-speed motor with the low speed intended to use on hard floor. Now the brush roller doesn't stop. As I've previously shown many times on the channel, that usually ends up to scattered debris. So let's go ahead and see how it does with the cat litter, the flour, the breakfast cereal, and the pet hair. Now it does have rubber wheels, which I think are kind of a nice addition. I don't know how well this is going to show on camera, but it scattered debris definitely behind it. You can also see where some of that debris stuck to the base plate. Again, rubber wheels, but there's no squeegee or brush in the rear, so the brush tends to throw stuff away. So really not intended for hard floor use, but we gave it a good shot. Let's test the maneuverability of the Fresh Era slash Hoover Royal going around. Well, as you can see, it might have an L-shaped nozzle here, but it sure is tall. It's really tall. It's not going to get under that lip at all. But the machine does lie flat, so for what that's worth. Well, trying to get under the couch. Difficult because it pushes in on the bag. So depending on how old that bag is and how stressed that bag is, especially if you're using a paper bag, what that means is you could rupture your bag internally in there while you're hitting it on the couch and stuff. Probably not, but it would be a concern. You can see when the machine is off, the bag does not touch, but when we turn the machine on, it inflates. So it does get kind of low, but just something interesting to see. So I would imagine these bags would get holes in them after time. All right, here we are trying to get really low. And as you can see with this, the edge of that will get under some surfaces, so that L-shaped nozzle will get under. But when we try to go all the way low, it's still too tall for most surfaces. Now this being just a direct air upright, it is not meant to be used on stairs. It's meant to be sold with some sort of canister or to accommodate another vacuum with tools. That being said, you can see It does have a nice carrying handle if you are bringing it up and down stairs, but if you try to use it on the stairs themselves, not really sure how that would work. I do occasionally hear from people who want to do something like this with the vacuum, but again, that's really awkward and it's really not meant for that. Well, how long is the cord? It's about 30 feet, which means from my living room plug here, it gets about halfway down the hallway. And I don't think Fuffa, the Chowski dog, approves of how short that cord is, though I think it's adequate. So, in conclusion, this is a relatively pleasant vacuum to use. With its nice muffled sound motor, it's a low tone. It seems to be about as powerful as like an ORC Classic, between an ORC Classic and an XL21. So again, nothing particularly special. Maybe like a Kirby Generation Series or something would be very similar in terms of power and airflow and pickup on carpet. I feel that this had a lot of things going for it when it was originally built, and the game wildly changed, which is why this vacuum got discontinued by TTI. So those of you who don't know, TTI ended up purchasing ORC. And shortly after, all these machines, the Royal version, the Hoover commercial version, got the axe because they no longer needed the ORC competitor. And it was silly for them to make two machines, especially with the height. I think the height, this not getting low or having a squeegee or the micro sweep like the ORCs did, really would be its downfall when we're comparing it to its lightweight competitors. But if you were just cleaning carpet, I think it's really nice. It's a great machine to keep like in the basement or as a secondary machine, which is often how these were sold with the complete Electrolux cleaning system. So I think it really filled the role for Electrolux. It filled the role as the Hoover. Now, full disclosure, I used to sell the Hoover back in the day. And I always thought it was a good machine for the money because it was under $200 and it was every bit as good as the ORC in my eyes at the time. And now in retrospect, I think on hard floor and getting low, it's not as good as the ORC in those regards. But I'd say in terms of power, ease, usability, absolutely. It's really kind of a shame this platform didn't take off more, but that is what that is. So thanks for watching Performance Reviews, where I give you the technician's point of view on vacuum cleaners and appliances. Definitely go ahead and hit that notification bell. That helps us out a whole lot. Share this on social media with your friends, even if just one or two of you do that. That helps us out a lot. And if you really like what we're doing or you want to see more, check out our Patreon page, and I'll put a link in here. You'll see that as well. Have a wonderful day.